Hi you guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Taylor and I'm a US American that's been living and working in Germany these past few years. If you're new to my channel, thank you for coming and watching my videos. This might look a little bit different than my normal setup, and that's because I just recently moved and our apartment is absolute chaos. It looks like a tornado went through the entire apartment, so I promise I will get a video actually out on the moving process in Germany, maybe compared to the United States, but that's to come. Today I'm going to be discussing the topic of the TestDaF, or the test Deutsch als Fremdsprache, and this is pretty much a language assessment test. So very similar to what you'd have in English would be the TOEFL. So what we're going to be discussing today. I'm going to start out by talking about who should be exactly taking the TestDaF, what qualifications should you have, why is this test necessary at all. Not everyone needs to take this that wants to prove their German language abilities. Then I'm going to discuss how you can register to take that test, how you should be preparing for the test leading up to the actual testing date. I'll go into detail about the layout of the test, and then finally I'll talk a little bit about scoring and tell you guys what my results were, so stay tuned till the end. All right, let's jump right in. So the TestDaF, like I said, is to assess your German language skills. So obviously if you don't need that, if you're just learning for fun, then you don't necessarily need to take this test. I would say the vast majority of people that take this test are people that want to go to university, a public university here in Germany. And that's obviously for people that are in programs where the primary teaching language would be German. Then there are some master's programs where you would learn everything in English. You guys, this test is no joke. I thought it was decently hard, and I'm someone that has taken extensive classes, German classes, language classes within high school and university. I'm also someone whose partner is German, and even though we don't speak German together, we speak English together. I speak only German with his family, and my working language is German for now 2 years, about 2 years. So the test is no joke. You really have to have good command of the German language. And they have some things on their website where they talk about approximately how many hours you should have taken classes with. And it's just like, I don't know how many hours I've spent learning German, but I would recommend that you have at least a B2 level of German. And if you don't know what that is because you've only studied German in the United States or something like that, you can take, I think, a test online which will show approximately where you would rank within the European language scale system that starts at A and goes all the way up to C1 and C2. And that will give you an idea, but it's a little bit better than intermediary, I would say, is what your skill level should be at. And I really recommend that you have had some sort of immersive language experience, whether that was an exchange semester or a month that you spent traveling around Germany, or times that you've spent sitting down with a tandem partner and having real conversations, not just within a classroom setting. I think that will really help you as well. So how exactly do you register to take the TestDaF? You go to their website, and then they'll have a whole list of the testing centers. I know because of COVID and everything, it was probably a bit different for me. There were a lot of testing centers that just weren't offering the test at all. And I think they have 4 dates, don't quote me on that, throughout the year where every testing center on the same day will hold these tests. And then the tests will be sent to the grading facility, the headquarters, and then you get your results back a few weeks later. So you just go to the website, you look at what testing center fits best for you, you register there, and I would suggest doing this quite a bit beforehand, especially if you're coming up to the university start or application deadlines are happening soon, because then a lot of people will be wanting to take this test. And then you just confirm your registration by paying the fee. And the fee is 195 euros, which in my opinion is a lot of money, but yeah, you take the test and you can take it as many times as you need to, but just be very aware that they only have a certain amount of testing dates throughout the year. So if you don't pass on your first try, make sure that you've planned it so that you maybe have an opportunity to take it a second time. And I know from my experience, I talked with some of the students beforehand, before we went in to take the test. And for most of them, it was either the second or third time they were taking it. And it was my first time, and I was like very late to the crowd. So maybe just keep that in mind if you're not 100% sure if you're going to pass the first time around. So should you prepare? How do you prepare? You definitely should take the time, at least a month or two, to maybe get a book. I personally use the book Mit Erfolg zum TestDaF. I guess there are a few books that are very similar in the way that they're structured. I like this book because it gave me a very clear idea of how exactly the test would be structured. So the test isn't just looking to see, can you have a conversation in German, or how good of a command of the language do you have? That's not necessarily the point. The point is more, are you fit to be in a university or an academic environment? It's really good to understand the structure, that you do a few practice tests, maybe buy like a 20 € book. I think this costs like 20-25 euros. It's not that expensive. And just prepare yourself for the way the format of the test is going to be laid out. I don't think that in 2 months you're going to be able to improve your German so exponentially that it will make a big difference in terms of the test and in terms of just your language. But I think that, like I said, just getting to know the format of the test is the most important thing that you can do for yourself. There are a few people that choose to take a class beforehand. I know that there are a few institutes within Germany, probably also outside of Germany, or everything's online nowadays. You can also do that as well, that can prepare you for the TestDaF. If you're feeling a bit unsure, you can go ahead and do that. I was feeling pretty confident with just having gone through that textbook, but every person's different. I also just didn't have the money to go spend 400 or 500 euros on a 1-month course to prepare me for this. But I guess that's like up to every individual. So once I got there, maybe just a little bit about the day and how the entire test is structured. I arrived, and because of coronavirus, we had to wait outside first, and then we were called individually in. We had to wear a mask the entire time, which was really uncomfortable because it was so hot. I took this test back in August. I think I took it on August 13th. So it was boiling hot in Germany. It was something like, I don't know, like 35 degrees. And yeah, we went in, and you have 4 parts in the test. You have reading, lesen, listening, hören, writing, schreiben, and speaking, sprechen. So 4 different parts you have. Each of them are, I think, between a half an hour and an hour long. And you get breaks then in between as well. And for our breaks, it was really stupid because we couldn't get out of our seats because of Corona, and like we had to like hold our distance to other people. So we just literally sat for one of the breaks for a half an hour in our seats, and we couldn't like go anywhere or do anything. So it was really weird. But that's the overall structure of the test. In part 1, lesen, you have 3 texts that you have to read through, and they get progressively harder, and you'll have to answer, I think, 10 questions per text. Like I said, go on their website. They have a few practice tests that you can do, and these are texts that are specifically academic. They either have something to do with university lifestyle or clubs or something like that, and then they'll have like a university text you have to read through. So there are definitely words that you probably won't know while you're reading, but you have to still be able to answer the questions even if you don't understand specific terms. So I thought it was quite hard. And also I felt like in the answers, if you don't understand one word, it can throw you completely off and you'll become really unsure of yourself. So anyways, the second part, hören, you have, I think this was also 3 parts, and it was weird because I was expecting for us to get headphones to listen and then kind of go at our own pace, but instead it was like back in like 2005, you had a radio or a speaker up at front, and the proctor would go up and press play, and you'd have to listen and then write while it was playing for everyone in the room. And for the first 2 tasks, they only play it 1 time, which is really stressful. And then for the 3rd task, they play it twice for you. And it varies between, I think one of the tasks was multiple choice. One of them you had to like physically write down answers and like Stichwörter, like keywords that you heard in the text that answer questions. So it was interesting. I think that was the part that I was most worried about, because with reading, you can go back and read a text multiple times to try to get the meaning from it. But obviously with listening, if you're only hearing it one time and you miss it because you're busy writing a different answer down or whatever, that's a very stressful situation for me. The third part was schreiben, writing. And in this part, you have an essay to write. And I think you have like an hour to do it. And it's based actually off of a graph. So before you go to the test, you should really sit down to learn a few key terms like the graph is going up at this point, or this value sunk at that point. And there's a bunch of different terms that you can learn to use in your essay beforehand, even though you won't know the essay topic. And I think all of the essay topics have something to do with university. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about the topic I had, so I guess I won't say anything here. But yeah, I guess everyone's written essays before. There's not that much to say about that part. And the last part is sprechen. And I felt like I would probably be the best in this area because I have quite a bit of experience in just like talking with people. And I think I was right. I think this was the easiest part for me. The only problem is, so you have 7 tasks and they'll give you some sort of prompt and then you have to respond to that. In some other tests, I think there's one other really big test that also gives you university entrance. I can't remember the name of it, but I think in that one you have a conversation with an actual person that's then grading you. And for the TestDaF, what they did was they give you prompts that you hear in like with speakers with headphones on, and then you have to respond to them. And you have between, I think, 30 seconds and 2.5 minutes to do this. And it was really stressful because you're actually in a room. I think we were 6 or 7 people and we were all talking at the same time. So I could hear the person next to me speaking their answer. And this for me was incredibly distracting. And I am surprised that I scored well in this because the whole time I was kind of panicking a little bit. Someone would finish before me and I would be the last one speaking, and I'm like, is it wrong that I'm still speaking? Or the other way around where I would be done speaking before everyone else was, and I'm like, okay, did I also do something wrong here? So it was a very stressful situation. So maybe get used to recording your answers while you're practicing before the actual test with someone maybe speaking over you or with music on in the background or something like that. I think this would have helped me probably. So after you've taken the test, I would recommend that you get some sort of Bescheinigung or a Bestätigung, so some sort of document that says you took the test, just in case. From my experience, I actually didn't get my results back on time when the university had asked for me to submit all of my documents. So instead of submitting my results, I just submitted this acceptance that I took the test, or certification, whatever you want to call it, just for them to know that I took it, that the results are coming, and that was just a good thing to have. And then I think it takes up to 6 weeks for you to get your scores back, which is just like generally a long time to wait, I have the feeling. I wish it would have been a test where you finish and right away the score pops up. But the way that it's scored is that every single section has its own score, and you have TDN 3, 4, and 5. And also, like, if you don't score any of those, you didn't do well enough, then you'll just get under TDN 3. So in most universities, they'll expect you for a bachelor's degree to have at least TDN 4 for every single part of the exam. And this really sucks for some people. I know one of the girls that was in my test that was sitting behind me, she told me that the first time she took it, she got TDN 4 for everything except for hören. So that means you just have to take the whole thing over again. You can't just take certain parts of it, and then you have to pay the fee, obviously, again. I think in some master's degrees, they'll expect you to have TDN 5 then for every category. And if you care to know, I'm actually really disappointed in myself. I got TDN 5, which is the highest you can get for 3 of the categories, for reading, listening, and speaking, and I got a TDN 4 for writing. But in the end, this also makes sense to me because every time I write something, I am very religious about going and using a translator for things that I'm like, if I'm not 100% certain. Also, when it comes to looking up certain words, I'm very reliant on dictionaries and translators and things like that. And it is what it is. I could have done better, and I'm upset about it because I'm also a little bit of a perfectionist, but I still got a good enough score that I can go into the university and not have any problems. And I'm lucky that my partner can look over any essays that I have to write in German, so that's good. I don't know if you guys care about my scores or not, but it is what it is. And yeah, I think that's everything that I wanted to talk to you guys about today. If you have any questions for me, more about my experiences or something like that, just leave it in the comments below. I promise that I'll be making more videos soon. I told you guys I wanted to do one about romance and love in Germany compared to the United States. I'm going to do one about the whole moving process. We're adopting a puppy in November, so I'll be also doing a video on the Hundeführerschein. I don't know if you guys know about that. So there's a lot to come. Please subscribe to my channel, like this video. It means so much to me, and I will see you next time.